Hey there, I'm Vickie Howell, the founder and creative director of YarnYAY subscription boxes, and I am here today to show you how to knit this really chic spa headband made out of big cotton, super luxurious yarn, really fun project, and it's for any age. If you check out my Instagram stories or my Facebook feed, you will see women and one man alike from ages 7 to, I'm going to guess, 70-ish, rocking their hot in here headbands. And I've got a knit version and a crochet version that comes in the booklet that you get with the box at YarnYAY.com. But right now I'm going to show you how to make the knit version. You can come on back to my Facebook feed or YouTube or Instagram or IGTV, wherever you're watching this, later for the crochet version. Okay. This is a one ball project, luxury cotton yarn, like I said, from Loopy Mango, and we're making a cable, but it's really more of a crisscross and it does not involve a cable needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to get started so that we can make this headband together. All right, so for the beginning of this headband, the first portion is just worked in knit 1, purl 1 rib. And so you're going to do that for the first 20 rows. And again, this pattern comes in YarnYAY.com with all the information, and that's just knit 1, purl 1. I've worked all of that except for the last row, which I'm finishing here. This is really, it's a great way to sort of reimagine how you think about knitting in the warmer months, because a lot of times we think that chunky yarn and headbands have to go away once we're not on the ski slopes or wherever anymore. And it's just not true. With great yarns like this that have really lush cotton and then, you know, fun patterns like this one, you can really sort of still live the chunky knitter's dream, you know, throughout the season. All right, so we've worked all of our ribbing for the first half. Now it's time to get started on what will be our big cable cross. So to do that, we are going to be working just with half of the stitches at a time. So we're going to be working our right front. And to do that, you will now continue knitting and crocheting. So you're going to knit and purl for half of the stitches. And I am a thrower or a English method knitter, but you do you. As long as you get the stitches done, that's all I care about. Okay, so once we've worked our first half of the stitches, you're going to want to kind of ditch these other stitches. Now you could leave them just hanging on the needle if you wanted. You could use some scrap yarn. I'm going to go ahead and put them on a holder, a stitch holder, just so it's easier for you to see what I'm working on. And then from there, what you want to do is you're going to ignore the last half of the stitches and you just flip the piece over and then resume, working only on those last half of the stitches, or in this case, it is the right front. And you'll just resume knitting in the same pattern that's established, knit 1, purl 1 rib. And as the pattern calls for, you're going to do that for several rows, just working on this one side. And what will happen is the piece will grow on one side, and what you're doing is you're creating the fabric that will be long enough to be able to cross. So you will just continue in that manner until you are done with your right front. All right, so we have finished our right side. Our left-hand stitches are on a holder, and now we need to prepare to work on the left side. So we're now going to put our right-hand stitches on hold. So what I'm going to do, since I used a stitch holder before for you to see, I'm going to use waste yarn. And I've just put it on a large-eyed tapestry needle. This also comes with the April box. It's a Loopy Mango one. And I'm just going to snip a piece. These forged iron fancy little yarn snips from Cocoknits are also in the YarnYAY box. It doesn't really matter what yarn you use. You know, some would argue that if you use the same thickness of yarn, it doesn't stray the stitches, but honestly, it's just a headband. You're going to be fine no matter what. So just whatever you have. So to put stitches on hold, I'm going to flip it around just because I'm right-handed. You just want to take your tapestry needle and thread it and the yarn through those live stitches. And then what I usually do is either tie a slip knot, or I'll just tie a bow, whatever, something, or you can tie it in a knot if you don't mind cutting the yarn, if you know, whatever, anything that'll work, just something to keep those on hold. So those are just going to sit all easy peasy on hold on our waste yarn. So now what we need to do is we need to get our stitches that were on hold before back on our needle. And to do that, you can just feed them right off the stitch marker, making sure they're oriented the right way. They should be if you slip them on this in this manner. And that's all there is to that. So we can discard our stitch holder, get this stuff out of the way so we can get some work done. And from here, what we want to do is we want to cut our yarn. The yarn that we were using before, but leaving enough for a tail. Okay, and so this now is just going to hang loosey-goosey. You want enough for a tail that you can weave in later. And then we're going to rejoin our working ball of yarn and begin by knitting and purling as we did before as established on these 6 stitches. So I just join the yarn, I lay it over my needle, again leaving enough yarn for you to have a tail to weave in later. My first stitch is a knit stitch, so I'm going to knit it, and then you would just continue working the portion of the row that you're on. Flipping the piece when you're done. You might want to give that little first tail a tug just to make sure it's uniform, and then just continue on these stitches as established until your piece, your left side, is as long as your right side. All right, so now we are ready to make the magic happen. We have just finished our left side, and our right side has been hanging all lackadaisically on our waste yarn. So now we are on a right or forward facing the public side of your knitting. And we are going to work the all of the stitches as established. So this is the second half of the stitches. So nothing new to see here yet, but just wait. All right, now we're going to just let this sit for a second, and this is where the cross action is going to happen. So this is our right hand side. What we're going to do is we're going to take our right hand side and we're going to slip it underneath that left hand side. And you can see magically your cable is now complete. That's all that you had to do, was just slip it with your hands. So then what we need to do is we need to get these stitches. We've got, so this is our right hand needle. I'm working with circulars with the add-ons that you can get for YarnYAY, but you could work with straights. But whatever it is, whatever's acting as your left hand needle, you need to then place the stitches, and I'm just taking them right off of my waste yarn. We're going to place these all on your left hand side. And look, they're already set up. They're all set up for you now to just continue across. So from there, we're going to, as established, knit one, purl one. And this is so fun. Even if you're a seasoned cabler, there are so many different ways to do cables. That I always like experimenting with them and learning new ways with or without a cable needle. And that's all there is to that. So now your yarn is or your stitches in your row is back to being connected. And from here, you're just going to do exactly what you did on the first half on the second half. Just work as the pattern calls for, or as long as the circumference is that you need for the head that you're fitting in that knit 1, purl 1 ribbing. Okay, to finish up this headband, you're binding off, and you can bind off any way that you want. I always recommend, if you're working in rib or seed stitch or whatever it is, that you bind off in pattern stitch. So all that means is reading the stitches. So the next stitch here is a purl. We can see that because there's like a little turtleneck guy on it. So we want to purl that stitch and then, you know, bind it off as you would no matter what. And then the next stitch is a knit stitch. So you're going to knit that stitch, bind it off. And then the last stitch is a purl stitch. So you purl it. And that'll just make sure that the fabric consistency is the same as the rest of the piece so that you don't end up getting this really stretched out or too tight edging. And then you have that last stitch. You want to cut the yarn, leaving a tail long enough, I would say about 12 inches. Pull that through to seam the piece. And then from here, you'll just take your 2 edges, right sides out. Because this yarn is textured, you get that sort of cobblestone look from the tighter thread wrapped around the single ply cotton. You don't have to, and then on top of that, this pattern is designed in rib. You really don't have to worry about the stitch that you use. You could whip stitch, you could, you know, janky stitch, whatever it is, and it won't really matter because of the texture. I like to use a, you know, mattress stitch where I'm coming up sort of every other bar, but it really doesn't matter. So just, you know, get it done. Also, this is at the back of your head, and as my mom always says, if somebody gets that close to you, then they better propose. So that is how it goes. So you're just going to seam up the whole piece, weave in the ends using your large eye tapestry needle, and then wear this like the spa king or queen that you are. See, as simple as that. So cute, so chic, great for poolside or weekends with the gals or going to the spa or just rocking it over the spring and the summer. So if you're interested in getting all the supplies to make it, as well as some other really great novelty items, you're supporting 4 female-run independent businesses by subscribing to the April YarnYAY box, and you can get it. We have 1 more week to go through the end of April. You can get it at yarnyay.com. I hope to see you there. Bye.